Good morning, good morning. How the devil are you all doing this fine day? Excuse me. Well, make the most of it, people, because as it stands, the government still hasn't confirmed the axing of the Birmingham to Manchester leg of HS2. I mean, they're going to, they just haven't made it official yet. Knowing what cowards politicians are, I now expect Rishi Sunak to leave Manchester via a side door when no one is looking, and then to shout over his shoulder, "Oh, by the way, HS2, it's off," before he beating a hasty retreat to his helicopter. Anyway, I'm not going to allow that to stand in the way of yet another awesome episode of the mighty Breakfast Show. We've got a lot to get in today, so please pay attention. I've just realised my camera is slightly off. That's better. That looks vaguely better. So without further ado, let me roll the intro, post the question of the day, and get this show very much on the road. I'm going to quickly throw over to the chat. Good morning to all those that have just joined us. But Gary Muirhead, HS2, it's off. We don't need a weatherman to tell us when it's raining. Very true. I mean, I'm literally just, I've got another screen here. I'm just waiting for the announcement to happen. I don't suppose it will happen until this afternoon because, politicians, not particularly early risers. Yeah, it's not good. Not good in any way, shape or form. And I do think it's going to have a knock-on effect through the industry. But hey, we will roll with it as we always do. It is Wednesday, the 4th of October. Welcome to the studio of high hopes and dash dreams that is the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony. In today's show, we're going large as we look around the Hitachi EX6000-7 mining excavator. Why should you use a cat rental store? Well, I'm going to give you 4 good reasons. Volvo's electric equipment, guilty as charged. Charged? You get the idea. Plus, we're going to take you on a whirlwind trip to Ireland and around the Combilift factory that I visited last week. We've also got a little surprise up our sleeve from those fine folks at Avant Techno, but you'll need to stick around for that. Before we get to any of that, we need to peer back through the mists of time to see what was happening on this very day in history. I was going to say a very quick good morning to John Finley, who just stuck in while I wasn't looking, and Ken Hatter as well. What is Chris Ford saying? I thought my puns were bad. They are bad. Mine are just slightly worse. Now, on this day in 1883, the Orient Express. Oh, the irony. The Orient Express embarked on its first ever journey from Paris to Istanbul. Of course, this was back in the days when people could actually build a whole railway, not just a tiny bit of it. Lovely how these things flow together, isn't it? In 1911, we're sticking with the train theme, the first escalator was installed on the London Underground at Earl's Court Station. Fairly sure it's still there. In 1983, Richard Noble drove the Thrust 2 car to just over 650 miles an hour to set a new land speed record. And in 2006, the WikiLeaks website was launched by activist Julian Assange, who's basically been on the run ever since. Now, before we get into the real meat of the show, let me very quickly remind you of our question of the day. Yes, our question of the day, yet again, is provided by our resident quizmaster, Mr. Gary Muirhead, and it is this. Would you prefer, I realise we all work for a living and we have to pay bills and everything else, but given the choice, would you prefer a high salary job for a job you hate or a low salary for a job you love? My initial knee-jerk reaction, I actually think this is a fantastic question, but my initial knee-jerk reaction was that I could tolerate a lot if it meant a lot of money. I've put up with a lot of crap in my time, and I've worked with some absolutely awful people. But the money kind of made it bearable. Maybe it's an age thing, though, because I could earn less. Well, if I could earn less while I was breeding boxer dogs or just fishing all day, I might just take that option now. But what about you? Let us know in the chat. Fantastic question, Gary. I am going to quickly throw over to the chat because I saw a couple of people arrive. Mick Saunders says, thanks for the parcel. Nice mints. Dog nicked them and he enjoyed them. I know he did, as he got to bed about 3 a.m. and he's still farting now. Fantastic. Just so you know, the parcel, Mick Saunders won one of our demolition competitions last week, and his parcel was just arrived. John Finley says, take the money every day of the week. It's a fair comment. Question of the day: a low pay now for a job I love. And again, I do think it may be an age thing. I don't need the grief anymore, to be perfectly honest. I'd like the money and no grief, but given the choice, I think I'd go no grief. Now, I'll leave that up open to discussion, but we're going to get on with the show, and we've got an absolute monster coming up. So stick with us. This is kind of where the show starts, and we're going to start big. And they don't come much bigger than the mighty EX6000-7 from the fine folks at Hitachi. Take a look at this and then tell me, how much would you like to take this beauty for a spin?
Hitachi Construction Machinery's EX-7 series is born from sheer engineering excellence, combining innovation with proven design, setting a new standard in ultra-large hydraulic excavators. The EX5600-7 is designed to deliver unparalleled performance and reliability in its class by incorporating the latest technologies, systems, and safety features. It's built to operate in a variety of mining environments with reliability and productivity at the forefront of its design prowess. Hitachi Construction Machinery has reinforced the EX5600-7's boom and arm, making it stronger than ever. The thickness increase of the boom plate in high load areas, in addition to the improved welding areas and grinding finishes, offers greater support across both the boom and arm. Optimizing the design leads to less stress on the components, while greatly improving life extension, reliability, and durability.
やっぱり超型の機械に求められるものっていうのが、耐久性も含めて、やっぱりスペックの高いものが求められていくと思いますので、一本一本自信を持って、お客様が喜んでいただけるように、長く使っていただけるように、そこを目指して常に仕事しています。
Hose connections between the boom and main piping have been upgraded from an arch configuration to an underslung configuration, removing the need for clamps and reducing deflection, increasing the life and durability of our hydraulic hoses. Handrails and anti-slip surfaces provide safe access to all areas of the machine for operation, inspection, and maintenance. Hydraulically operated, electrically controlled folding stairs provide safe access to the upper structure.
これまで培ってきた超型ショベル、1998年ぐらいからこの550トンクラスの機械が発売されたんですけども、順次そういうモデルチェンジを繰り返した中で今最新のモデルになるといったところで、いい部分はこれまでの実績をそのままキープして、で新たに挑戦的なところも取り入れたものになる。
Hitachi Construction Machinery has focused on operator comfort with the EX5600-7 to reduce fatigue. The ergonomic cab layout places controls in easy reach of many operators. The main monitor display gives a comprehensive snapshot of important information with a clear and user-friendly layout. The brightness of display is increased to reduce monitor darkening during the day, and the brightness adjustment range is expanded to reduce monitor glare at night. The layout design of Hitachi Construction Machinery's EX5600-7 provides clear access across the machine. Wide walkways and open service areas with frequently accessed parts in centralized locations makes inspections and maintenance simple and easy. Hitachi Construction Machinery continues to drive innovation within the mining industry. The EX5600-7 showcases Hitachi's commitment for excellence, bringing together advancements and technologies from the Hitachi Construction Machinery Group and the Hitachi Group to produce world-class ultra-large hydraulic excavators and reliable solutions for mining sites around the world.
Yeah, it really is a magnificent beast, and I can only hope that we can all gloss over the fact that I called it the EX6000. I typed it wrong, and I read it wrong. I can only apologise. Now, I was hoping that all things HS2 weren't going to overshadow today's show. It was a vain hope, because obviously it's going to have a major impact on the industry. Got lots of comments coming in. Jim Turner says, my prediction for the failed northern half of HS2 and the redirected money: more commercial and housing released, more renewable energy, and maybe putting the hard shoulder back on motorways. I think that final point could well come true. This is an absolute corker, and I wonder if anybody else is asking this question. Gary Muirhead says, I'm just wondering if these big construction companies involved in HS2 will be looking for compensation from the government for spending millions in preparation for the cancelled routes of HS2. I think that's a fantastic question, and I sincerely hope they are. When you think about some of the coverage that I've done, that Peter Haddock in particular has done with some of the companies that are working on the HS2 project, it's not just a case of setting aside time to do the job. They've invested in schools for apprentices. They've invested in things like hotels. I can't remember, was it Lynch or Flannery had actually put in place their own hotel to house their own staff. We're talking about satellite offices that have been opened, plus all the costs of potentially investing in new equipment. I remember when the HS2 project was originally given royal assent, there was talk about it requiring something like 700 ADTs to bring it to fruition. I think the usual UK sale of ADTs is somewhere around the 400 to 500 a year mark. So they were going to have to come from somewhere. Somebody was going to have to go and invest those. I would imagine a lot of those are either purchased and paid for, or they're on order. What happens to all of that? All a bit of a worry, to be perfectly honest. Now, was anything else about HS2? Or no, it looks like we're okay. So I'm going to take that one off the screen. But please keep talking about HS2, because I think it is going to be a major story for not just today, but for weeks to come. Now, we need a bit of this, because I need to fire up something else.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
I'm going to go over to this one from Mick Saunders. Morning, Mick. Lost interest in HS2. The growing cost from the start should have rung more than a warning bell. And again, I'm going to throw this open to you guys. You guys are closer to the coalface than I am. Whose fault is that, those rising costs? Now, I realise some of it was unavoidable, because we did go through a fuel crisis. We went through a materials cost crisis and so on down the line. I understand all of that. But is it a case of construction, what is the technical term, taking the piss? Or is the government's own procurement process that actually ordered the HS2 project in the first place, is that fundamentally flawed? I'd love to get your take on that. Going to go over to Peter McKenna. People may not be a fan of the smart all-lane running motorways, but if everyone was retrained to use them correctly, rather, they would be amazing. Foreign countries have all-lane running motorways and don't have any issues. Hard shoulders are death traps and have been the scene of many deaths over the years. Again, we've talked about smart motorways in the past and about the impact that electric cars will have on those, because Electric cars, when they're out of juice, just stop. HS2. Sound. Oh, should never have started. The money could have been spent all over the country, not just on one job. Yeah, and bearing in mind, the shortfall in housing, the shortfall in hospitals, the shortfall in schools, the need to partially rebuild some schools because we used god-awful concrete made by Aero. Yes. Jim Turner, I also predict a few new towns being drawn up with tram or sprinter train links to the nearest town or city. See, the problem with that is, I know these are all fantastic predictions from Jim, but I reckon they're a decade away at the very minimum. Will we still be here in a decade? Have I got anything better to do? Probably not. I'm going to say good morning to Tom Whiting as well, who has just joined us. And just to round things off very quickly, the whole system is flawed. But look at the state the construction industry is in. Yeah, it does seem to go from one crisis to another, doesn't it? Now, yes, if you were here yesterday, you'll have to bear with me a bit because I need to draw this from somewhere else. Just bear with me. If you were here yesterday, you may recall that we took a deep dive into the Volvo EC230 electric excavator. Well, that sparked, get it? Sparked? Never mind. It sparked a whole conversation about how electric machines are charged, the cables they use, charging times, and all of that kind of thing. Well, as it turns out, Volvo has actually produced a separate film that answers many of those questions. So let me fire that up for you now, and you can learn for yourself, as I do, because I haven't seen this to the end yet. Let me just draw this out of the files. It should be that one there.
A lot about electric equipment so far. We haven't talked about the biggest question is charging. How do we charge these machines? What does that look like? How long does it take? So I have my two product experts here, Lars Arnold and Neijing Li. How you guys doing?
Great.
Great. Good. So guys, I just want to keep this super simple, super casual, and just talk really basics about how charging works. I know we can get into a lot of details, but for the sake of our audience and us and me, how do we even charge machines? What does that look like? So if you guys could take us through first, how do I charge an electric machine?
So charging itself is not rocket science, right? Charging, if you take it battery as a human being, charging for us, it's like eating food.
Yes.
Yeah, so charging is like eating food, so it depends on what kind of food you're eating. It can depend. That's why you have like a different kind of charging levels coming up. So when we're talking about AC charging, essentially the current going into the machine is like this shape, and it got converted inside the machine into like shape. So this is called AC charging, and we have two of the AC charging. It's called level 1 and level 2.
And level 1 is the 120 volt outlet, and our charging cable, of course, the machine is coming with a charging cable. So we have the 120 outlet, quick disconnect, or for level 2 charging, it's a higher charging power on 240 volt with the NEMA 1450 plug. So what's the NEMA 1450 plug? It's the same plug you have on your range at your home. It's available in every household.
Yeah, so basically level 1 charging, so with 1 hour of the charging, you roughly only get 10 minutes of the runtime out of it.
Per 1 hour.
Per 1 hour.
Okay.
If you do level 2 charging for a compact machine for 1 hour, you can get 1 hour of the runtime.
So it's a bigger plug, more time.
Correct. You don't need to do much of the investment. It's like the charging station, it's only like a dedicated charging station. It's cost like less than $1,000. A little bit construction in your like warehouse, it's another $1,000 to $2,000. So yeah, you definitely can get more runtime out of per hour charging.
So speaking of runtime, can you talk a little bit about the difference between how long it takes to, how much runtime you get on a full charge of a compact machine, and then as well we have the EC230, our larger excavator. What's the runtime on that when it's fully charged?
So it's all depending. So if you run the machine very hard, it can be less than 4 hours. And we usually give a range, and we have a very good experience from testing the machine. So we had the machines out with various customers. They needed to write a daily report. The daily report included when they started in the morning, when they finished in the afternoon, charging level beginning and the operating hours beginning and end. And from these reports, you could see an average between 4 to 6 hours. Can it be more than 6 hours? Yes, in a very light application. Can it be less than 4 hours? Yes, when the application is very demanding. It's like your fuel consumption. The harder you work the machine, the more fuel you burn. Same in our electric machines. The harder you run the machine in a very demanding application, the runtime can be shorter.
And there's no idle time, right, when it comes to electric, because you're not using gas whenever you're sitting there. It's not using the power.
Yeah, as long as your electric motor are not spinning, you're not counting as time. The machine is not running.
So you're cutting out between 40-30%, that's very conservatively, on idling hours being counted on the operating hour meter. And consumption of electricity, because the machine is only running the electric motor when the machine is operated. It's like standing in the front of a red light. With a gasoline car, the engine is still running if you don't have start-stop automatic. With an electric car, you stop at the red light. Is the electric motor running? No, because you're not driving. So our machines, the electric motor is only running when the machine is in motion or being operated. And this machine here is same as automotive. It has 2 electric motors. One is on the rear axle driving the unit. And guess what happens when you go downhill? The electric motor becomes a generator and recharging the batteries. Yeah. And then back to charging maybe a little bit.
Yes.
So here we have our charging plugs. And here's our J plug, same as on automotive. You will find this on your F-150 Lightning.
Yep.
And then here we have our DC fast charge plug for the 48-volt system. So how hard is charging? Plug the cable into the wall, plug the cable into the machine, push the start charging button here, close the door, and it's charging. So it's actually much more comfortable than sitting there with a diesel hose, filling up your diesel and wait. You know, and then you spill diesel all over you. This machine, you finish your workday, you simply plug it in, check if it's taking a charge. On the display, you even see how long it takes to be fully charged. And then you walk away and pick up the machine the next day.
So talked a lot about AC charging. What is DC charging, Neijing?
DC charging, as we said earlier, the battery can only store the direct current. So what DC charging essentially is like the converting step from AC to DC bypass the machine. There's a converter there. It already converted from AC to DC. So when the current goes in, it's already DC. So typically what the benefit of that is like your way fast charging speed. So we're talking about for the compact machine between 45 minutes to 90 minutes. Okay. So you can definitely way shorten your charging time.
Okay.
Yeah, I will recap if you don't mind. So we have AC charging level 1, AC charging level 2.
Okay.
Then we have DC charging. So AC charging means we put AC into the machine. Yep. The onboard charger is converting the AC to DC to charge the DC batteries. Yep. And DC charging simply is an off-board conversion of the AC to the DC.
Got it. So what about when I'm off the grid and I can't find a plug? How do I charge my machine?
So we at Volvo, we're not only talking electric machines, we're talking charging solutions at the same time. So here in the background, you see the beam charger. It's harvesting solar energy from the sun. There's a battery pack in this, and the battery pack is then charging our equipment. Then we have another solution out there. Neijing?
It's the both stack. So essentially, it's a gas tank. I carry it to the job site. And then build it wherever I need it to. Essentially, it's a fuel tank.
Right.
Yeah. So also Volvo, we are doing our in-house solution for the battery in a container, bring it wherever the job needs the electricity.
Yeah, so this container there, it's like a big gas tank for electrons. So it's a big battery pack, 80 kilowatt hours. You bring it to your job site. This machine you can charge twice, or the mini excavators you can charge 4 times. Or you charge one machine a day, and you have the remaining 40 kilowatt to run other electric equipment, your circular saw, your lights, your laser, charging your cell phone, anything.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, I know you probably could talk more and more about charging. But I think that was really great. Thank you guys for sharing some time with us. Viewers, if you guys have questions, please send us your comments. Don't forget that we have special deals during Utility Expo for our electric machines, so you can go online and use our build-in quote tool and get 4% off MSRP. And you can also find more information about our electric machines on our Utility Expo page. Thank you for joining, and thank you, Neijing and Lars.
Thank you, Alexa.
Thank you.
Yeah, realise the The English wasn't the best, but I think that got some of the points across. Let's have a look. Peter McKenna says solar power banks, Graham. Also, a few manufacturers with photovoltaic generators for sites as well, which is answering a question I'm reading backwards. What are they going to do in the middle of nowhere, says Graham Footy Williams, and you haven't got a generator? How are you going to charge it? Like people in Australia, in the middle of nowhere, have you got a power source? Well, you have got a power source because Volvo think of everything, don't they? Let's have a look. Is there anything else on electric? Jim Turner says an electric Bowser only really makes sense if towed by an electric vehicle. Totally agree, but it's possible. It's doable. What we lack is not the technology. What we lack is the will. Lots and lots to talk about HS2. Now, one of the points that was made earlier, if I can find it. Yeah, there we go. Mick Saunders says, if you look at the sheer waste of money on the rail network, gangs sitting about doing sweet F all, overmanning by the companies involved, the railway has always been a print money for the contractors involved. I wouldn't necessarily argue with that, and it's certainly a comment that's shared a little bit later on by Peter McKenna, who says, construction industry is the same. Lads sitting about on their phones, machinery wasting time and fuel, doing pointless exercises. Videos released by members of the public watching machines on HS2 load dumpers, which then tip said material within the machine's reach. Haven't seen those. I may need to go and dig some of those out, just to prove that is actually a thing. Mick Norton says the AC/DC options left me confused. It's all about the sign language, apparently. That apparently is direct current. That is AC. Okay. So apparently you've got a slow charge on AC, you've got a faster charge on AC, or you've got a direct charge with DC. In other words, if you pump AC, whether it's the slow version or the fast version, into the machine, the onboard transformer will actually convert it from AC into the DC that's required. However, if you use one of those external battery packs that Volvo are now selling, then that does the conversion for you. So you are basically sticking direct DC current into the hole. Does that make it any clearer? I don't know. I don't know if it makes it any clearer at all. Now let's get back to the show because we've got lots and lots to get through. One of these next. I was so carried away with my sign language that I forgot to mention. You can actually check out more on electric machines on our dedicated website, which is Electric Earth Moving Equipment. To save you the job, I've already put a link in the chat, but I can do it again right now just to make sure it's nice and fresh and current. Get it? I'm sure you do. While you're there, you can also check out news of the two new all-electric 20-ton excavators that are about to roll off the Komatsu production line. And please do me a favour while you're over there, should you choose to visit, hit the subscribe button, would you? It do us all an enormous favour. Now, we're all familiar with the cat rental store, right? Genuine cat equipment from a dedicated rental store. Have you ever used one? Well, here's 4 reasons why perhaps you should.
With CAT equipment, you get a better quality of equipment. When you're on a project, you know that if you call CAT, they're going to make sure that rental is top notch. It's ready to go, it's clean, it's serviced. That makes my job so much easier because I don't have to worry about something getting on site and in 50 hours it needs a 500-hour service. CAT is really good about making sure that those services are done before they get to site. I think that their integration as far as, CAT can track their own equipment, that's huge. So it just really makes the whole environment and the whole job site just go so much smoother. Honestly, you guys offer a wide variety, anything from a mower attachment to resurfacing equipment, the planers, the buggies. You got the grader attachment for the skid steer. You've got the thumbs. You guys also offer welders, air compressors. There's a lot of small equipment a lot of places don't even offer. So pretty much if I need something, I'm going to call CAT. If they don't have it, I would be surprised. It's great that I can call Caterpillar and say, okay, I have this project manager or this superintendent that really wants this other competitor's equipment. What do you have that is comparable to that? I've never had a problem with them getting the specs of the machine that they're asking for and comparing it to some of their machines and throwing that back at me. As long as I can give that information to a superintendent, and I feel like if it has the CAT name and they're telling me it's going to perform exactly the same, let's write something that I know that we can take care of and they're going to take care of us. We could call CAT and they're pretty quick on getting out there, or they'll exchange the equipment. I mean, this happened the other night. We had a bridge pour that was happening and we had to shut down a railroad. We had 24 hours to get the railroad back up. The night before, all this was happening at 5 a.m. the next morning, we had a light plant that wouldn't stay running. We were under the gun. It was late in the afternoon when it went down. Service wasn't available. So I just called my good old salesperson, Brady, and he made it happen. He got us a light tower out there, swapped it out. It was probably within the hour and everything went smooth the next morning. I'm a little biased, but I think there's no comparison. I'm always going to choose a CAT first. I'm always going to call a Caterpillar store, no matter where my travels lead me.
See, I remember a time when manufacturers would never have a rental operation here in the UK. Plant hire companies would be up in arms if manufacturers started to compete with them. Although bizarrely, there was always an exception. Hydraulic breakers. You could hire hydraulic breakers, but as soon as somebody entered the mini excavator, backhoe loader market, a manufacturer entered the market, competing with some of those that they were actually supplying machines to, there'd be hell to pay. Never understood quite why that was the case. Now, I do need to address very quickly a point from Peter McKenna. I was talking about our electric earth moving equipment website. He says, just wish we could like and comment on that site without paying a subscription mark. You can. The subscription at the moment is entirely free at the moment. There is a paid option should you decide to do that. It's not compulsory, but you can take part on that website free of charge right now. You just need to go and have a look. And there's Peter saying, okay, I'll go back and take another perusal. Please do. Mick Saunders just had a call from a friend in Italy. He was talking about the coach crash over there. Very tragic, but he said it was electric and there was trouble putting the batteries out. That's why the fire was so bad. Makes you wonder if this all-electric arc is a good idea if the batteries do ignite. Oddly enough, and it is the Italian connection, apparently the recommendation for dealing with batteries, I'm talking electric vehicles, not equipment now. I'm talking about electric vehicles. Apparently in Italy, the recommended approach should an electric car catch fire is to lift the car and submerge it entirely in a water tank. So literally completely submerged for a week. Because apparently these things just bubble away, and you take them out of the water before a week, and there is every opportunity or every chance that it could reignite. That's hard enough. Going back to Jim Turner's question or point earlier about hard shoulders, could we end up with hard shoulders filled with water tanks in which to drop burning electric cars? But that's all well and good. How do you get an electric excavator, a 20-ton electric excavator, off a site and into a water tank? Are we going to be using our rivers and our lakes to put out electric vehicle fires? Please let me know. And Peter McKenna has just bypassed the paid subscription over on our electric earth moving equipment website, and he is now a member. I'd like you all to be a member. It's not as busy as it should be, but it's getting there, slowly but surely. Peter McKenna says we have skip manufacturers in the UK that have EV immersion products. There you are. Are they big enough to accommodate an excavator? That's the next question. And how do you go about lifting a 20-ton excavator? Do we have to have a mobile crane on every site just in case? What would the Environment Agency say about killing all the fish and the animals? It's a good question. the electric machines and hydrogen machines, to be perfectly honest, I get the impression they raise more questions than they currently answer. But you know, we're trying to keep our finger on the pulse. Now, we need something else. Yes, we've got something of a surprise for you. I didn't know we were going to be featuring this up until about 5 minutes before the show went live. So stick around after this.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
Okay, people, it is time to go green. And I don't mean you have to hand in your diesel machines. I mean, we're really going green. And we're going to do it in the company of the two very latest models from those fine folks at Avant Techno.
Hello, my name is Jani Käkelä and I will take you around the new 635i and 640i models. These two new models complete the range of the 600 series which we started to renew around 2 years ago with the 645i and 650i models. The biggest difference we have with these two models here is that the 635i is equipped with the Rockfox canopy only, whereas the 640i is equipped with the new GT cab. Also, the biggest difference compared to the previous models is the new Kohler KSD engine. So let's take a closer look at that. We have a Kohler KSD engine, which is completely new engine type. It is a common rail engine with electronic injection, and it has 26 horsepower and 90 Newton meters of torque. The big thing we achieve with this electronic injection is that it is really well adapting to varying load conditions. So for example, we put a bucket on front of the loader and we drive into a pile of dirt and we're lifting simultaneously, the engine won't stall. So that is the big difference compared to a conventional injection system. Also, the same thing is that if you were driving with attachment that is taking a lot of power from the loader, and we're, for example, pushing simultaneously or driving, the engine can adapt well into those conditions and keep that attachment going. Another thing we achieve with this new engine is that we get more liters per minute for the auxiliary. With this new model we get 66 liters per minute for the auxiliary, whereas in the old one we had 50 liters, so 16 liters more. And this obviously makes it much more versatile to use all the possible Avant attachments available. With the electronic injection we can work much better and with much less power drop in high altitudes. So further things we have renewed in the model is that we have a completely new wire harness included with the PDU, power distribution unit, and in here we have a lot of fuses, relays and so forth concentrated into one box. So it's really easy to service if necessary. Then we have the hydraulic oil cooler in the side of the machine, and it has electric fan which is completely steplessly controlled. So depending on the temperature of the hydraulic oil, the fan will start to blow faster if it's hotter or slower if the oil is cooler. The design of the machine is also completely new, so all new covers front and back of the machine. The optional road light kit is also now integrated into the fairings, so the blinkers, the lights, everything are integrated. Rear grille is press molded from steel and it's made of one piece. Also, it's really easy to take off for cleaning of the radiator if it gets dirty during the use. So the new stuff and the improvements continue in the cab. One of the biggest new things is a new seat. We have a completely new seat with much improved suspension travel. So when you're driving in uneven terrain, it's much more comfortable. The adjustments on the seats are much more versatile than before. We can adjust the suspension, we can adjust the different lumbar settings and everything on the seat. The seat back is a little bit higher than before, and the seat is equipped with seat heater. The side armrest here on the right side is you can turn it away, so you can get better visibility for the switches here on the right hand side, and you can put it back real easily. All of the dials in the instrument cluster have been replaced with the display. So we have a multifunctional display where you can see a lot of information from the loader. Boom floating is a standard feature on the loader, and it's really easy to switch on now like that. So just put the joystick in the front position, it locks there, and if you want to disengage it, you just pull back, and so the boom floating is off again. So the heated cab option we have here is the GT cab. It is the new model that we launched actually a couple of years ago with the bigger models of Avant, first the 800 series and then the 700. Now we're bringing it to the 600 series as well. So it's a cab that we have spent a lot of effort to soundproofing it as best as possible. So it is a quiet cab. It's a nice cab all around. The storage solutions we've spent a lot of time on. So we have cup holders, different kind of mug holders, shelf for a cell phone. It's roomy, and also the visibility is very good. So all around you have excellent visibility from the cab, almost like you're in the open cab option. Further things we've improved with this GT cab, or concentrated a lot, is the heat distribution. We have 4 outlets here on the top and 1 for your feet. So the heat will spread very evenly in the cab. Air conditioning is of course available as an option to these loaders as well. There's an air suspended seat that is an option for the loaders for further comfort. There's a radio as an option as well, and street light kits as an option. Improved lights, work lights is an option. So there's a whole lot of options available in this GT cab. Otherwise, the instrument cluster is here on the right hand side. So all the switches here are in plain sights, and they're on the right hand side. All the dials have been replaced with the display. So in the multifunction display you can find a lot of information, just like we have on the open cab version as well. So all around, this cab is very usable and comfortable cab, even for the longer days. So easy to say that this is the best cab available in this size class of loaders. So these were the new 635i and 640i models. As a recap, they're very versatile machines with a lot of power, so they can basically run the full range of Avant attachments. They are very maneuverable machines, they fit into very tight places, and so they can work in very confined areas. And they're very easy to transport around with a regular car trailer as well. For any further information, don't hesitate to contact your local Avant dealer.
Sorry about the sound level on that one. As I say, I literally received that video about 5 seconds before, 5 minutes before I was due to go live. Didn't have a chance to check it, so apologies for that. Have to say, I'm a huge fan of Avant machines. I would place them in the same category as the likes of Mechalak and Wacker-Neuson. They just march to the beat of their own drum. But what do you make of those new Avant machines? I know we've had some positive comments, but do you consider them to be hot or not? Certainly with all the heating they have in the cab, I would imagine internally they're hot. But let me know in the chat. I'm going to throw back to a couple of things here, though. Peter McKenna says, why aren't our manufacturers turning to biogas fuels for their machinery? Some cars and trucks can have and still are fueled with biogas, and it's a sustainable alternative to diesel and petrol. If you cast your mind back to Bauma 2019, Case unveiled a concept machine called the Project Tetra, which was a compact wheel loader, which was designed to be to run on biofuel. Biofuel being something that Case is owned by CNH. CNH have an interest in biofuel. That was supposed to run on biofuel. I'm not sure it's ever seen the light of day. It's since been overtaken a little bit because that was their concept machine, the Project Tetra. They then had the Project Zeus, which was an electric backhoe loader, but the electric backhoe loader is now available for sale. So not entirely sure what's going on there, but keep an eye out. Biodiesel or biofuel hasn't been completely dismissed as far as I can tell. Mick Norton, I'd hate to say, I have to say I am inclined to agree with everything he's just said here. When the HS2 debacle quietens down, watch out for the incompetent and greedy decision makers queuing up for bonuses and redundancy payments and compensation payments, and all of those politicians that presided over the whole shit show, the sorry shit show that it's turned out to be. I would imagine will find themselves a very nice new job as well. Now we need to do some other things. Yes, Avant machines, are they hot or are they not? We need to roll one of these.
If you would like to buy a limited edition Break Fast show sticker, head on over to buymeacoffee.com/demolition news/extras.
For our final film of the day, I'm going to take you back to just last week. About this time last week, funny enough, while you were all trying to find ways to occupy yourselves from 10 to 11 each morning, I was over in Ireland as part of the 25th anniversary and 25th anniversary celebrations of lift truck maker Combilift. While I was there, I had my trusty camera with me, so sit back while I take you on a high-speed visit to Monaghan and Dublin. And Jim, if you're still in the chat, I chose the music especially for you. Hope you like it. No word from Jim Turner, but Peter McKenna says, great music choice. Didn't know you were into drum and bass, Mark. I am not specifically. It just felt like it needed something a bit punchy. I don't know. Well, that's loud. I think it's only in comparison to what was before. We do equalize our own videos, so they should all be roughly the same. But that one from Avant, we didn't have time to do it. They certainly make a large selection of machines. Yeah, did you see the straddle carrier carrying that porter cabin? Fantastic stuff. There we are, Jim Turner, great tune. Like mashed up dubstep and old-fashioned Wurlitzer? Yeah, Wurlitzer. I'm not sure that's how you spell Wurlitzer. That's what threw me, but yes. Going back to our Avant machines, was it hot or was it not? Peter McKenna initially says hot. Gary Muirhead is in agreement. He says hot as well. And then Peter McKenna comes back and says scorching, in fact, scorchio, as they used to say on the Far Show. Peter McKenna is also a fan of Combilift, obviously, because he has a foot in both camps, both construction and over in transport. Obviously, transport, lift trucks and all the things that go with it. You love using Combilift machines. They are awesome and super versatile. And there, thank you very much indeed, Peter, is the correct spelling of Wurlitzer. Not that it's a problem, just made me stumble a little bit. Yes. Just going back to Combilift very quickly. I said when I got back just how impressed I was with Combilift. The factory is it's a fraction of the size of the JCB World headquarters, and yet it did have a real JCB feel about it. Everything clean, efficient, welcoming. The company had plenty of room in which to expand, and there's like an L-shaped factory and offices at the moment, but they've got acres and acres and acres of space should they decide to expand. In my humble opinion, Combilift is one to watch for the future. And Combilift, if you're watching, thank you for the trip. It was fantastic. And anytime you want to invite me back, maybe for the 30th anniversary, be more than happy to join you. Let's have some of this. And my gripe today is about my own kind. Well, I say my own kind, but I'd rather not be categorized with the people I'm about to talk about. My gripe today is about so-called journalists like Beth Rigby on Sky News. Now, I realise that Rishi Sunak has one of those faces you'd probably never tire of punching. I know that I would probably break my foot long before I got bored with kicking Michael Gove in the nuts. But what is this thing that journalists do now, where they make the interview about themselves rather than the interviewee? Now, politicians don't help themselves with their refusal to give a straight answer to a straight question, but the fact remains that the journalist's job is to get to the truth, not to just lambast and argue with the person being interviewed. I realise that I operate in a very different level and in a different field and a different level to Beth Rigby and her ilk. She certainly seems to earn way more than I do. But when I'm interviewing someone, I actually tell them in advance it's going to be a conversation, not an interrogation. I get them to relax, maybe let their guard down a little. I don't harangue them from the very opening question. Beth Rigby's verbal assault on Rishi Sunak yesterday yielded no new information. It really didn't. It didn't tell us anything at all. It didn't confirm that HS2 was about to be scrapped. It merely showcased the fact that she had come armed with lots and lots of questions. So where is the value in that? Anyway, that's my gripe of the day, and I'm sure I'll be griping about it again today because I'm sure Beth Rigby will once again be haranguing somebody. That's my gripe of the day, but what's yours? I'd love to hear from you. What is it that grinds your gears, gets your goat, generally butters your proverbial parsnips? The daily gripe therapy session will return probably tomorrow, although I'll try to make it about something else. That pretty much wraps up the main part of this morning's show. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into the chat to see what you're all saying today. Let's have a chat about HS2. Let's have a chat about charging electric vehicles. Let's have a chat about putting out fires on electric equipment. We can do all of that after the chat. If you can't stick around for that, then please stay safe, look after yourself, your family, your friends and your colleagues. But if you do have the time and the inclination, stick around because we'll be talking amongst ourselves, as we always do during the Craic, after this final word from our key show sponsor. Yes, good, lots and lots and lots and lots of questions and answers and stuff. That factory is fantastic. Used to deliver and collect from there. Even got a tour. Thank you, Peter. It wasn't just me, and as I say, I'm not being paid to say this. I wasn't paid to go to Ireland. They invited me, and again, given the fact that we have an electric equipment website, I thought the idea was it would be a good idea to go and have a chat with somebody that's already been down that line. I found it very, very interesting because not only are they in the electric business, they currently have no interest whatsoever in lithium ion. They are still very much lead acid batteries, which are de rigueur in the field of forklift trucks. All of their equipment now is lithium ready, but they are not prepared to make the jump because of concerns over battery life, battery recycling and stuff. There is an article about that very thing. It's called Selective Electrification. You can find it over on our electric equipment website, which I'm going to link to once again. I'm now going to go back to the very, very beginning of the chat to make sure that I give everybody their turn. Gary Muirhead was up bright and early, our resident quizmaster, Steel Wrist superfan, and professional Scotsman. Good morning, Gary. Thank you very much indeed for being here. And thank you for that excellent question. I do like those either-or questions. They do work really, really well. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, gang, he says. Good morning to you, Gary. Andy Darvell was second off the mark. Good morning, everybody. The Darv is in the house. Good morning to you, Andy. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Glenn Johnston is in the house, and I need to go and fix my Stream Deck because I've got a Glenn Johnston button that refused to work this morning. I don't know why. It just decided it wasn't going to have it. Chris Ford says, good morning from a wet ploughing match. The way the other half live, eh? Chris Ford out in the rain. Good morning, Chris. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Mark Whiting is here as well. Morning, Mark. Hope you're fit and well, my friend. And as a result of being in the pouring rain and of being part of a ploughing match, Chris Ford says, sound only, no vision. Probably better like that. I mean, you know, look, although you are missing my Brock t-shirt, which is resplendent. Who we got here? There's our friend Scott. Morning, Scott. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Over from LinkedIn land, Andy Dyson from the mighty Erith, who put up a picture on his LinkedIn yesterday of a propping job that the fine folks at Erith have done recently. Man alive, what a feat of engineering. Hats off to you, Andy. Fantastic photograph, fantastic project as well. John Finley says, good morning, everybody. Good morning to you as well. Mick Saunders is in the house, complete with he's probably supping from it now. He's got a Kent Demolition mug, he's got some pens. His dog ate all the mints that were in there and is now farting like a good one, farting like a statesman, I think they used to say. I don't know why. I don't know if statesmen do actually fart that much, but thank you very much indeed for joining us, Mick. Good to see you here. John Finley's here as well, saying good morning to Gary Muirhead. Everybody, just talk amongst yourselves. Jim Turner is here. Glad Jim stuck around because I saved up that music specifically for him. Who else do we have here? Yes, I am still... I'm not sitting on the fence. I know how this is going to play out, but as it stands at the moment, it's not been completely confirmed that the Birmingham or West Midlands to Manchester leg of HS2 is off, although I think we all know what the case is. But Gary Muirhead has no truck with such namby-pambyism. He says it's off. We don't need a weatherman to tell us when it's raining. No, absolutely. And what was the actual point of yesterday? Never mind Beth Rigby's interviewing style or her terrible haircut. I won't dwell on that. What was the actual point of Rishi Sunak saying, oh, you know, I'm still looking into it? No, you're not. No, you're not. You've made your mind up. It's off, isn't it? Why? It's like, I know we have a few football fans in our midst. Why is it that you have a manager of a football club that is currently struggling, couldn't buy a goal, couldn't buy a result, and the board come out and say, we fully support our manager, and you think, that means he's getting sacked in the next week or so? Why do they bother with that? What difference does it bloody make? There is John Finley is with us as well, with a green tick. Not sure what the green tick is for, but thank you. I'm going to take it as a compliment. I fish for compliments all the time. I'll take anything as a compliment. Ken Hatch is in the house as well. Is that cloud or is that rain? It looks like cloud. Hope it holds out. I thought my puns were bad. Yes, I did say, I think I did guilty as charged with Volvo. And I also did something about a bright spark or something like that. It's best to ignore most of what I say, to be perfectly honest. There's Mick Saunders, who is saying that his dog enjoyed the mints. I didn't realise that they had that effect. Much rather than my dog, because there's nothing quite so funny as a dog farting. There is my question of the day. My question of the day, that's a nonsense. It's Gary Muirhead's question of the day. Would you prefer a high salary for a job you hate, or a low salary for a job you love? Some good answers on that. John Finley says, take the money every day of the week. Can't blame you. And if push came to shove, I'd probably go the same way. Ken Hatcher goes the opposite way. Low pay for a job I love. Can't argue with that. The latter, been working for nothing for years. There again, I've never worked a day in my life. Just enjoyed diggers. That's the expression, isn't it? Do something you love and you never work a day in your life. HS2 casting a long shadow both yesterday and today. Jim Turner says that my prediction for the failed northern half of HS2 and the redirected money, more commercial and housing release, more renewable energy, maybe putting the hard shoulder back on motorways. Having already come up with the question of the day, I think Gary Muirhead has probably come up with the comment of the day as well. I'm just wondering if these big construction companies involved in HS2 will be looking for compensation from the government for spending millions in preparation for the cancelled routes of HS2. I totally agree. Yeah, I totally agree. And compensation and redundancies and has anybody actually done the maths on this? Has anybody in the government done the maths on exactly what this might cost? I'm not saying it would cover the cost of the leg from Birmingham to Manchester, which runs into the billions, I'm sure. But it would probably go quite a way. Mick Saunders, question of the day. We all like the money, but do or did anyone really get what they thought they were worth? No, I've never been paid what I believe I'm worth, but then I believe I'm worth an absolute fortune. No, that's not strictly true. I do occasionally do a gig for somebody that is grateful and show their appreciation financially, so I can't really complain. But I have worked for an awful long time to get there. Question of the day: with the hours I put in during the week, I have to do the job I have to have a job I love. Money is nice to have, but isn't everything as long as you can live comfortably. Yeah. Listen, I lived through the 80s, yuppiedom and all of that kind of thing. You know, where it was greed is good and all that kind of thing. I don't know whether it's I've got older or I've got wiser or the world just feels like a different place. Not so convinced by that anymore. Have enough to get by and be prepared for a rainy day and not much more than that. I'm not looking for acquisition. I'm not looking for fancy cars and fancy holidays. Just enough. It always amazes me how short the undercarriage is on big machines. They always look so unstable. I guess there's a lot of weight in that undercarriage from sort of slew ring downwards. We talked about the Hitachi, which I said wrong. It was a 5600-7. It wasn't the 6000. I can't type and I can't read, which is a fantastic mix for the job that I'm doing. But yeah, the undercarriage does look very, very short. But then I guess you're working within a very tight radius, aren't you? The boom on those machines is relatively short. You're not doing much in the way of reaching and that kind of thing. And I know Ken Hatcher, there he is. Ken Hatcher says, always got the sprockets the correct way in quarries. Yeah, I think the operation of those machines kind of differs to, certainly Andy Darvell spends a lot of time on the levers of a high reach machine, where obviously the needs are somewhat different. Interesting to find out, Gary, what the penalties are for cancelling it. Yeah, I wonder what those penalties are. And I sincerely hope that the construction companies have covered themselves. I'm sure they were up against financial penalties for failure to complete on certain elements on certain times. So I do wonder just how that will all pan out. Question of the day: do a job you love. You can't take the money with you, says Glenn Johnson, whose button I will be fixing very, very soon. Gary Muirhead says there's been a lot of thought put into that Hitachi. Yeah, certainly when you're talking a machine of that size. I mean, they're an engineering marvel, but it's also, you've got a guy that's going to be spending 10 plus hours a day in that, and they often operate in the middle of nowhere. You kind of need to cover all the bases just to be sure that it's not going to let you down and that the operator's completely comfortable. Peter McKenna just arrived when he wrote that. Good morning, my good friends and acquaintances. Hope everyone's having a fantastic morning. So far, so good. Yeah, not too bad so far. I definitely take some money for a job I hate. I've got a great job that I enjoy and I work with brilliant people. But if a job offer comes in that pays more, I'd be off like a shot. I work to live and it's money that helps my family and me to live an easier, happier life. Well said, Mr. Turner. Well said. Question of the day, Peter McKenna. As long as you wake up every morning, what does it matter how much money you have? Yes, money helps, but it's not the be-all and end-all to a fulfilling life. Friends and family make life even more special. There's a balancing act going on with the answers here. The one thing I would say, as a small aside, I spent decades, not just years, but decades, trying to get the bigger house, trying to get the better car, and all of that kind of thing. And then I went to a school reunion about 25 years after I'd actually left school and met up with all the people that I used to kick around with when I was a kid. None of them cared. Didn't care what car I drove, didn't care what I did for a living, didn't care where I lived, how many bedrooms my house had, didn't give a toss. They were vaguely interested in the fact that I've got 4 children, but everything else didn't care, because that's not the me that they knew. And the me that they knew kicked around on a council estate as a kid, perfectly happily. So yeah, there's a lot to be said for that, I think. Looking at that machine, I thought that's a big pair of speakers on the back. Really need to get my eyes done again. What was it on the back? I wonder. And there is the person that came up with the question, going, oh, Jerry Maguire, show me the money, says Gary Muirhead. Lost interest in HS2, the growing cost from the start. Should have rung more than a warning bell. The problem is, I think we've become numb to escalating costs on major projects. It always happens, and I realise this is a very simplistic analogy, but if you ask somebody to build your wall outside your house, you know, and they say, well, it's going to cost you £1,000 and it's going to take 5 days, and it then takes a month and it's going to cost you £10,000, you'd probably be well in your rights to get the ump about that. And yet with major construction projects, they set a target, they set a price, both of which are then thrown out the window, and the whole thing just runs away with itself. And we just allow that to happen. And bearing in mind, that's the important thing, and somebody does make this point a little bit later on. I know the government will sell it as safeguarding funds and everything else. That's our money. That's our money. And if we end up paying compensation and redundancies and all that kind of thing because of either the construction industry just taking the piss, or the procurement process that the government put in place was flawed, that's coming out of our pockets. This is not some slush fund that the government have got set aside that they've handed round a mug and collected the money themselves. That's our money we're talking about. There is Peter McKenna. People may not be a fan of the smart all-lane running motorways, but if everyone was retrained to use them correctly, they would be amazing. Foreign countries have all-lane running motorways and don't have many issues. Hard shoulders of death. Excuse me. Hard shoulders are death traps and have been the scene of many deaths over the years. HS2 should never have started. The money could have been spent all over the country, not just on one job. Listen, I think if you went out to the public and said, where would you rather have the money spent, would they be saying railways, or would they be saying schools and hospitals and homes for homeless people and stuff? So I think it's a good point. I also predict, says Jim Turner, new towns, a few new towns. When was the last time we had a new town? Obviously, Milton Keynes, I think, was probably the first and quite possibly the biggest. When did we last have a new town? I predict a few new towns being drawn up with tram or sprinter train links to the nearest town or city. Be interesting to see. Tom Whiting joined us once again from over on YouTube. Peter McKenna says the whole system is flawed, but look at the state the construction industry is in. It's a hard one, that because I'm within. I'm on the edge, but I'm within construction and demolition. I think there is so much to admire and so much to respect and like and love about demolition and construction. But certainly when you do scratch the surface, you know, the number of times motorway work, I think because it's so exposed, the number of times you drive past 4 million cones on a section of motorway and there's one man and a digger, you know, a mile into it doing basically nothing. I don't think we cover ourselves in glory and that sort of thing. But again, you have to question with HS2, what was the procurement process? And if we're questioning the procurement process on that, should we now be questioning the procurement process on projects like not HS2, Hinkley Point C? Purchased at roughly the same time, have they got the safeguards in, or are we going to get another year or two down the line, at which point Sunak or his replacement goes, yeah, Hinkley Point, nah, not so much. We're gonna bin that as well. Lower salary job that you love, says Tom Whiting. If you have a job that you love, become a passion and pay nearly as much. Well said, sir. Ken Hatcher says they could have just upgraded the existing line and stations, possibly. There is our friend Graham Footy Williams, who is watching us from the comfort of his bed. We should call for a public inquiry into the cost of HS2. Where is all the taxpayers' money? Taxpayers' money. Yes, well said, Gary. Where has it gone so far? And is there corruption involved somewhere? I'd like to think there is not corruption, although, you know, given the CM2, the CMA investigation that we had a little while ago, you have to question that. My personal belief is it's not a matter of corruption, it's a matter of incompetence, and incompetence at all levels. And again, I'm all for these major projects pushing the envelope and making the industry better and to abide by ever more stringent levels of safety and sustainability and everything else. But HS2 was it was made entirely from bureaucracy, having seen it up close and personal. So yes, I think that's a very good point. Is there corruption involved? We shall see. Peter McKenna, going back to the Volvo, this was not the purpose. I love Chinese women when they speak. Swoons. I have to admit, I do. I not so much when they speak, but I do like the way that Asian women look. It's the daintiness, I think. What do they do? Says Jim Turner. I think that was on the Volvo thing. If you look at the sheer waste of money on the rail network, gangs sitting about doing sweet FA, overmanning by the companies involved, the railway has always been a print money for the contractors involved. I'm afraid I'd have to agree. Let's have a look. There's Mick Norton joined us a bit later in the day. Who else have we got here? There is the link, which I think I did repeat. Need to have a look at the way that that's been written. Electric Earth Moving Equipment. There is the link. It is electricearthmoving.equipment.substack.com. Something occurred to me the other day as well, and I'm not entirely sure which one it is. I'll tell you what, let me try this. I'm not going to try it because I can't remember which one it is. Do you remember I used to talk about the fact that we had a voicemail message system called SpeakPipe? I'm sure I need to be reminding people of that so that we can get you actually on the show. I will. I'll find it. Sticker on the windscreen tells me when the MOT is, so I can remember. Now, that's part of... Okay, so there was I missed a comment. Peter McKenna questioned why... Graham Williams isn't at work, and it's because his car needs an MOT, which is why we're there. I've missed one completely. I'm going to say good morning to Darren Day. I think we all know the answer to that corruption question. I'm trying to take the high road here, but you kind of have to wonder, don't you? Peter McKenna says the construction industry is the same. Lads sitting about on their phones, machinery wasting time and fuel, doing pointless exercises. Videos released by members of the public watching machines on HS2 load dumpers, which then tip said material within the machine's reach. I'm going to go and have a look at that because I do find that very interesting indeed. Possible quote of the day. Jim Turner says, absolutely spot on. They've all been over milking it and now the tit has run dry. I think he means the financial tit. I mean, this tit here, still plenty to come from this one. What are you going to do if you're in the middle of nowhere, haven't got a generator? Well, I think we answered that. Solar power banks. There's also a few manufacturers out there with photovoltaic generators for sites. Yeah, absolutely. And that beam generator that you saw, or beam charging system, saw that at, not the last Conexpo, the one before. Fantastic idea. It's almost like a carport. It's a roof, it's a back, and it's a floor. No sides on it. You just bring the machines in, solar power, there's power of the power bank, shove your cable up your machine, and Bob's your uncle. The AC/DC left me confused. What more can I say? It's there. Maybe rewatch it. I don't think the language helped, to be perfectly honest. You'll need you need diodes to convert it. Okay, yeah, I get that. Diodes, yeah, absolutely. Just wish we could like and comment on that site. So we've covered this. Electric Earth Moving Equipment, it is a free subscription. You don't have to pay for it. I think Peter may have visited it last time that I mentioned it and pressed the wrong button. There is a, as with all of our Substacks, so we've got the Demolition Insider. It's free to subscribe, but if anybody wants to pay to subscribe and get some additional content, you can do that. And our Electric Earth Moving Equipment, exactly the same. It is free, 100%. If you choose to subscribe and pay for it, you're at liberty to do so. But given the current state of the world, please don't feel obliged. Only do it if you feel like it. And there's me answering. You don't have to pay for the subscription. It is currently free, and we will always have a free option, don't worry. We're talking about the cat rental store. Peter McKenna says Devon on Service gets lads on site to service machines generally within 24 hours of the call out. As they should. Yeah, as they should. I think we covered this, but just had a call from a friend in Italy talking about a coach crash over there. Tragic, but it was electric, had trouble putting out the batteries. because the fire was so bad. Makes you wonder if all this electric arc is a good idea if the batteries did ignite. And they can. Apparently, according to my... there's an interview over on the Electric Earth Moving Equipment site with one of the guys at Volvo. Apparently, you have to work very, 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 very hard to ignite a lithium-ion battery. The problem is, once it's ignited, it's even more of a problem to put it out again. Go and take a look. With kits about currently, surely they could set up something around the said machine and fill it with water in an emergency. The problem you're going to have, I guess, is, you know, you could end up with sites that are entirely electric. Do you have a skip full of water for every machine? Do you have one skip full of water and hope that it's going to be enough? Good question. Mixed orders. Is it just me, or is the sound very quiet in the video? No, the Avant video was very quiet. As I say, I was about to press the go button. It arrived. I uploaded it. Didn't get a chance to check. My apologies. My fault entirely. I apologise, but Mixon says, thank F for that. I thought I'd gone mutton. One of my favourite expressions of my dad, yeah. Mutton Jeff. Mutton. Yeah. Let's have a look. Why aren't manufacturers turning to biogas fuels for their machinery? As I've said, yeah, Project Tetra. If you go and have a look for Project Tetra on the interwebs, you'll find it. We actually featured it on Diggers and Dozers back in 2019. It's designed to be run on biogas. Don't think it's in the light of day yet. Mick Norton, another prediction about the fallout from HS2. When the HS2 debacle quietens down, watch out for the incompetent and greedy decision makers queuing up for bonuses and redundancy payments. I would like to think that heads will roll on this. The problem is, if you think back to the point that HS2 actually gained royal assent, which I think was back in David Cameron time, so you're probably talking about 2016, 2017. I would imagine some of the people that were, if not all of the people that were involved in the decision-making process on HS2 at that time have probably either packed it in or got a different job, so they won't stand to carry the can at all, I would have thought. The Avant machines, Peter McKenna says, would love to have one of those without the attachments running to the shops and back. Yeah, you'd get through the traffic nice and easily with those, wouldn't you? Let's have a look. Lots of people like that machine. They certainly have a large selection of machines. They most certainly do. That's Combilift, obviously. Let's have a look. Beth put her foot right in it. She wants her arse slapping and put in the naughty corner. Just, it's. I could understand it if she harangued the Prime Minister or one of his minions and actually got answers as a result. Then okay, still not my style, but fair play. It didn't. It just made Rishi Sunak throw up the barriers, and he answered nothing. Nothing at all. A Tesla car goes on fire. You've got to turn it upside down and put the fire out, apparently. What's the point of putting it? I guess access, maybe. There is nothing more entertaining than Andrew Neil forensically interrogating some hapless politician who is in a position above his or her ability. Yeah, same for Andrew Neil. I would have said back in the day, Robin Day, more recently Jeremy Paxman, just not taking the whole scrap. And I do wonder about this, by the way. Let me come back to this because I've just spotted this. Dave Daffron from Facebook. Good morning. Second broadcast I've seen so far. Great show. Thank you, Dave. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. I don't remember seeing you here the first time you were here, so let me give you some of our welcome and confetti. Thank you for joining us and thanks for being part of the gang. Yes, going back to where was I? Yeah, I have this theory. I have two theories, actually. I watch a lot of football. There's a lot of cheating goes on in football. People claiming they're injured when they're not. People throwing themselves on the floor and stuff. Stamp it out. The referee, at the very beginning of the season, first time that happens, send someone off. Show them a red card, send them off. And then see how the rest of the teams and the leagues feel about it, I think you set a standard. And I would say exactly the same about the interviewing with politicians. When you ask a politician a question and they decide, I won't answer that question, I'm going to answer something completely different that I've already pre-prepared, give them one opportunity to answer the actual question, and then just say, okay, never mind, call it off, give us your microphone, leave. Just get off the show. I think if you do it enough, the politicians will have to fall into line. Andy Delvell says, I got called out to a VW Touareg. I think that's pretty much how it is spelled. I'm not entirely sure. On a fire a few years ago, put the fire out and double-checked all was safe. We went home. On the back of the 3 1/3 ton recovery van, it caught fire again because of the battery. Safe to say the guy driving the recovery van wasn't too pleased to have a blazing car right behind him. Naughty electric vehicles. Yeah, can sit them on the naughty step along with Beth Rigby, maybe. Let VAR decide the fate of HS2. Something else I hate right there. What, like the waterboard, and wants us to charge more money, but will the pipes in the ground? Not sure. Let's have a look. Isambard Kingdom Brunel had a 4 times overspend on his Great Western Railway. I sound like Jonathan Rossland, but never buckled in his determination to finish the project. And that is one of the things I've got here. How does this look on the world stage? Yes, we're going to build this high-speed rail network. Never mind the fact that the French and the Germans and the Japanese have had them for years. We're going to do this. We're going to have a northern powerhouse. No, we're not. No, we're not going to see that through. That's been quite expensive. The hell, people. Other gripe of the day. Us British perfected the art of queuing. In supermarkets, we queue in single file lines, waiting patiently to take your turn. If anyone tries to jump said queue, they are swiftly sent to the back. Why on motorways and roads is it allowable for people to queue jump? Well said, Mr. McKenna. Totally agree. Agree Jim Turner's Newtown concept, but please God, don't use Milton Keynes as a template. I know what you're saying, and I listen. I know it's very fashionable to laugh and point at Milton Keynes, but there are bits of Milton Keynes that really work. They really are, like the fact that it's built US style on a grid system. You know, you've got roads. It's all right angles. It's north and south, east and west. And when you get there and you actually spend a bit of time in there, it's actually okay. It works. T'other day sounds like you're a closet Yorkshireman, Mark. I don't know where these things come from. Sometimes it just escapes. I have no control, as you can probably tell. Are you planning any Wednesday night show soon? An all-electric show would be good, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be good? Should we do that? I was in the diary. Let me check what the diary's looking like. Doing all-electric. I think that would be an absolute blast. Yeah, we do, and I've mentioned the fact we do have a Whack and Noisen show, dedicated show coming up, but we've got some videos to produce for it. So as soon as those are all ready and keyed up, I'll be doing that. But yeah, we could do an electric equipment show. Can't do next week, but maybe the week after. If anybody fancies that, let me know in the chat or the WhatsApp group or email or telekinesis. Yeah, just beam thoughts at me and tell me. Yeah, I'd tune into an all-electric show. And then rip the equipment to pieces because we're not fans. Yet you know the debacle I endured with Thomas Plant Hire when I was in Tucson with fixing the dozer. Not all service agreements are the same. No, they are not. Not all service agreements are created equal. The water will be recovered and sent straight to the water treatment facility, direct via truck, says Peter McKenna. What's this? Crafty boy. Crafty Ball Sunak going to go to give his speech in 20 minutes, so I'm off to walk the hound and fall in the pub. Enjoy the day, one and all, and catch you tomorrow. And the dog thanks you for the mints. Your dog is more than welcome. No, because the chemicals that are released are treatable. The batteries can be totally recycled with everything it contains recovered to be reused. All true. Yeah, the mints are awesome. Got to find out where you can buy them. Where did I get those mints from? Oh, Kent Demolition. Phone Dave Padgett and ask him. He'll tell you. I was saying it's a bit like the water board wants to charge us more money when sewage is leaking out everywhere, so our bills are going up even further. More money spent on putting pipes in the ground everywhere. Totally agree with that. Brunel struggled with local planners and landowners. It was and still isn't easy to get permission to do what needs to get done. levelling up and the Northern Powerhouse are just bollocks phrases that have no substance or need. Yep. And did you hear Liz Truss? You remember that god-awful expression, make America great again? She now wants to make Britain grow again. They must have spent, a second coming up with that? Just awful. And the fact that we're giving her airtime, quite possibly the worst Prime Minister in history, and we're giving her airtime, and suggesting that she somehow has the confidence of the Conservative Party. That would be the same Conservative Party that kicked her out on her ear. All right for you, I only managed to suck on 2, says Mick Saunders. Yeah, dog beat him to it. Who had the rest? The dogs. Yes, they did. Let's have an all-diesel show with belching exhaust stacks, says Mick Norton. We could probably do that as well, actually. I tell you what, I'm going to go away and have a bit of a thought about that. Let me check the diary, make sure that there's nothing on Wednesday week, and we'll see if we can do an all-electric show. I'm going to reach out to a few manufacturers, see if they've got anything that we haven't used before to talk about all things electric. I've certainly got some stuff here that we could share with you. So yes, good idea, Gary. Thank you very much indeed for that. He's almost co-producer. I say almost, he pretty much is co-producer on this show. Always responsible for our question of the day. And now he's dictating content. I think you should probably be doing this job, Gary, actually. Right, people, that's an hour. Sorry, that's an hour and a half. Can we have a vintage plant special? We can. The only thing about that, Jim, and I think people would love it. The only thing with it is the quality of the footage, basically. I can find lots of footage of old plant, but either the film is old and therefore poor quality, or the film is new, but it means that the equipment on display is actually in like a vintage fair or something, which is not really the way to see it at its best. But if you're willing to tolerate that, I'm more than happy to sit here and spin the wheels. I don't know what the hell that is, but yeah, if people would like that, please let me know. I missed this day in history. Oh, it was brilliant. It was brilliant. It wasn't that great, actually. WikiLeaks was launched on this day in whenever it was. Not much more on that. I love contributing. You're welcome too, Peter. Listen, we really appreciate it. That's what makes this show work. I do tell people that all the time. I was saying my friends over in Italy just last week, the show itself lasts for about 20-25 minutes max, and then the fun starts, with all of you doing what it is all you do. There is Peter McKenna saying, goodbye folks, have a great day. And I'm going to echo that sentiment and call a halt, because an hour and a half of your life has already gone by. I'm sure you've got better things to be doing. I'm going to be back here again tomorrow with yet more of this, by which time I would imagine we will be banging the nail in the coffin of HS2, and construction will be licking its wounds. Not that it will stop us, but we'll be back here tomorrow. Bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, 10 a.m. for the break. And there is Andy Darvell saying, ta-ra. Yeah, ta-ra, Andy. Thank you for your contributions. I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a good one. All the best.